Disguised as a journalist, under the alias David Mutsamai, this was Mandela traveling through Africa. Ethiopia was one of the countries he navigated, and where he received guerrilla warfare training under the orders of Emperor Haile Selassie. Unknown to Madiba, his cover had been blown, and a bounty taken out on him.
I want to talk about now this order to kill Mandela.
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
There were two people that came. One was a white man, one was a black man, who brought this money also. And then they selected another person who was a friend of his. They were trained together as a commander, an Ethiopian person. And they mobilized that person, and I think that person agreed with them, that he was happy to get on with strangling Madiba. They wanted to strangle him.
That was how they wanted to kill him.
But they didn't want to do it. They wanted him to do it.
Yeah, because he had such close access to him.
And he was a regular person, and they knew the sequence, the time when people would be away in the evening, the shift. They knew all the pattern, so they assigned him to do it. He didn't want to do it. He wanted him to do it.
He wanted him to do it.
Yeah.
And was this gentleman from the apartheid government? Was he? Was it an order from South Africa? Where did the order come from?
I think it's it's security services. I mean, it's very difficult to say, but it's intelligence services. But it's high intelligence. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But of course, the apartheid government must be involved.
Yeah. How much money was he offered?
£2,000. That's a lot of money at that time.
Madiba was given a pistol by Colonel Fikadu again, the weapon symbolic of his future struggle against the apartheid regime. It's believed Madiba buried the weapon at Lily's farm.
Well, I mean, the gun, we became aware of the gun back in 2003. Up until that point, the gun had kind of disappeared from the historical landscape. We weren't, even though there's reference to it in his book, A Long Walk to Freedom, the reference to the gun really shocked us and surprised us, because on his visit in 2003, as I was walking out of the main house with him up the path towards what at the time was a little museum, he asked me if I'd found his gun that he had buried at Lily's Leaf, which, as I just mentioned, we were totally unaware of, which then precipitated a long investigation and discussion. At first, there was my professional team were slightly taken aback, and they were of the opinion that Nelson was actually referring to the revolver that he had on him at the time of his arrest. However, during the course of the research and the investigation, we uncovered the fact that on 3 previous visits to Lily's Leaf in the 90s, he had pointed out to individuals, one being Alistair Sparks, on one occasion, which Alistair Sparks then wrote a story on about the gun. And on 2 other occasions when he went there, the owners of what was Lily's, the main house, record 2 separate occasions with them being taken to the back of the house and Nelson pointing to the property adjoining it and saying, "That's where I buried my gun."
Mandela was arrested shortly after his return to South Africa. He was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment with hard labor for leaving the country without valid travel documents. While serving this sentence, he was charged with an attempt to overthrow the state, and he became party to the famous Rivonia treason trial. Stefina Komane, SABC News, Johannesburg.